Hi, it's me, Queen KB. Welcome to another edition of the Royal Council. With me this week, much quieter week, we have Noble Natalie and Baron Botch. This week, we are going to step into a totally different direction with the Metamucil Memoirs. Those fogies who just need to step away and retire. No offense. I don't ever want to see anyone out of a job who needs a job. Don't get me wrong. But there are just certain wrestlers who are a little too long in the tooth to be appearing every week, shall we say, for a variety of reasons. And one of which, in my opinion, is their physical health with COVID-19 going on. But that's a whole other level of ick that I don't want to deal with. This is wrestling. We gotta, it's fun. Although tonight we might be a little meaner than usual. So we're gonna discuss the old guys. Then we're gonna throw in a few of those people that we just don't like and want to see go away for our personal reasons. Go ahead, Botch. Who you got for us to start with?
Well, the first one I thought of is because I kind of know what you guys are going to say, but the first one I thought of is not in either AEW or WWE. The first one I thought of is Tim Storm.
Who?
Tim Storm, exactly. Tim Storm. Tim Storm had been featured. He's kind of a journeyman, but had been heavily featured on NWA. You remember when they were doing the those 10 pounds of gold YouTube videos that led up to the premiere of NWA Power. That gem of a show. But he was at that point, he was the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and then Nick Aldis took it from him on, I think it was on it wasn't on an episode of Power. It's hard to keep track. Call it COVID brain. But at any rate, he's still in the ring, and he's in his mid-50s, and he's still wrestling. And the problem is, you said mean, he just wasn't ever that good to begin with. I never understood the Sturm und Drang about Tim Storm. He's just very mundane. His promos aren't great. He's okay, but his promos are they're very like Bob Backlund, early 80s. Very AWA-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Just very, very humble, just not very exciting. And when he tries to show edge, it just kind of reveals his inadequacies in that department. And the worst part of it is, in the ring, he's just slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
The human body is not forever. Father Time is undefeated. And when he's in the ring, he's slow. He's not terrible. He's just slow. So kind of like to the secondary point that you made, like, I don't know that this is safe for him anymore. I mean, he's not like indie Father Time. It's not that there's a guy named Father Time who wrestles, who's in his 70s and really needs to stop, because him I worry about. It's nothing to be concerned about just yet, but it does impact the enjoyment of watching his matches. So I really kind of feel like Tim Storm needs to just, it's enough already. You've done it. It was merely okay anyway. You've done it. Enough already.
Rather than jump to Natalie, which I normally would, I'm going to throw a name in here just because he fits in that same vein. And I personally think he's never been that good. He has never been good on mic. He has never been my favorite in the ring. And that's Ken Shamrock.
Do it.
I've heard that name.
He was an MMA fighter, and he moved into the WWE, and he is wrestling in Impact Wrestling right now. And he looks 20 years older than he actually is. And he moves so slowly in the ring that I think it was either Tommy Dreamer or Rhino it was Rhino. No, that was Rhino who destroyed Hernandez last week. It was another name I wanted to go to. But Ken Shamrock just looks like heck in the ring. He's slow. He looks like he's in his 70s. I don't know how old the man is.
Neither do I.
But thank you. He's really just,
I'm gonna look it up though.
he's a detriment, and he could be dangerous, in my opinion. And
Really?
he's still
Okay.
working the ring on a regular basis. And with all of the fresh talent going into NXT and the talent that's there, or not NXT, and Impact Wrestling,
Yeah.
they don't need him. He's a mess.
He's 56, by the way.
56. He looks like he's 75. Easy.
He does look older than his years. I agree with you. And his promos sound old too. Like he's kind of caught in like 90s mode.
He has that Jake the Snake going on, but not in a good way. Jake knows how to work
the charisma.
Exactly.
That's
what I mean. He never has had the charisma. He's never had the mic skills. I never thought he was even worth being a decent wrestler, because he just wasn't back in the day in the WWE.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So Natalie, who's too old, who needs to step away? And I think I know where you're going to go, but I'm not sure.
This is going to be delicious.
That is Ric Flair.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for.
The ring. He may not wrestle, but God damn it, take your old wrinkled ass home and stay there.
Natalie, the children, think of the children.
Sorry.
You know.
You know, it's very rare that he's sober. And he's where he's not shouldn't be. He needs to go home and stay home.
I just don't think it's safe for him to physically be in or around the ring in case something happens. But beyond that, hello, COVID. He's old. He has a lot of health issues. He really
I want to see him have a heart attack in the ring because he stuck his nose where he shouldn't be putting himself.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Botch, who else you got for us?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to elaborate a little on Flair too. I mean,
go ahead, sorry.
If it's okay, I remember back in the 80s, or even back when I believe this was like in the early 70s when he was check it out, Natalie. His name when he started, first of all, he had dark brown hair, darker even than Queen's. And his first name, you'll never believe this, his first name was Ramblin' Ricky Rhodes. Rhodes.
Oh, yeah, you said something about that once, so I went looking.
Yeah.
I read about it.
His hero,
like Rhodes as in Dusty Rhodes.
He wanted to be like Dusty Rhodes. And he was much bigger. If you've seen the older original pictures of when he debuted as a wrestler, he was huge. He was like football player big. He looked completely different.
Did he lose the weight because of the plane crash, do you know, or just...
It wasn't the crash. He just lost weight and completely changed his look and bleached his hair because he wanted to put on a whole new thing. So he just completely changed his look. And I mean, he wasn't like morbidly obese, but he was probably too big to, and his ring style, of course, had to be very different. But he just wanted to be something else. And so he changed his whole look to the point that he doesn't even look like that guy anymore. But it's bizarre. I mean, his hair is just icy white, and it has been for decades on it, just probably why 3/4 of it is fallen out. But but even in the 80s, like when he became Ric Flair, he was just spellbinding. I mean, anytime he came on the screen, if you were doing something else, if you were smart, you stopped because he was worth listening to. You hated his guts. He is absolutely the progenitor for MJF.
Oh, yes.
Last night.
Oh, my God.
But without, it was beautiful. But without Ric Flair, you don't have MJF. You don't have any of the heels. You don't have Baron Corbin. You don't have any of the heels we love. You definitely don't have Triple H. But like, he was the blueprint for all of the heels that we loved. And he was so fantastic that, to Natalie's point, now seeing him in the ring so many decades later, being less than half of that and not being particularly engaging on the microphone because he's essentially lost it. He certainly shouldn't be working the ring anymore.
No.
It's just, he has diminished his legacy to the point that you can no longer just think of how he was when he was great. We are now forced to confront how he is when he's not. And that's the shame of it. He's diminished his legacy to the point that it's really broken.
But he's not the only one who's done that. And
not at all.
I hate to, I don't discuss the racist on this show, and I'm not going to discuss the racist on this show.
Please.
But that would be one that has, Anyway.
Agreed. He's another one who just I'll drive by it real quick. Like when he began, he was this Adonis. He had this bleach blonde hair, Florida beach body, overly tanned, whole nine, always had it. And then just over the years, he's another one that just kind of didn't know when to stop, and racist behavior notwithstanding. He just kept going when he shouldn't have. He's had multiple back surgeries, many of which haven't even worked.
No.
He's still talking about getting back in the ring again. Like, man, it's over. It's so completely over.
Right.
He's another one that just kind of, like Natalie mentioned with Ric Flair, he's another one that just doesn't know when to pull the plug on it, you know?
I didn't even like them back in the 90s. I don't want to watch them now.
Exactly my point.
Same. I really don't. And I mean, let's be real here for a moment. We do have to be honest about it. It took Hulk Hogan to create the wrestling business as we know it. We must be honest about this, even though he's a horrible racist. It took what it took. The combination of Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan, that's what it took. There had to be a figurehead for it, and that's what Hogan was. The kids loved him to death. Everybody loved Hogan back then before we knew.
Yeah.
So it took that in order to get the wrestling business off the ground the way that we now know it. It is what it is.
I didn't like his ego back then.
Right. And it was seeing through it was, being old enough to see through it, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I wasn't, but I did.
No, I know.
But I mean, think of it this way. Like, if I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I'm sorry, but Natalie keeps bringing up such good points. Like, the truth is, think of it this way. Like, if he doesn't have that ego, it's like with any entertainer, whether they be musician, actor, wrestler, if you are basketball player, football, but whatever, if you don't have an ego the size of a small Midwestern town, you can't succeed. You almost have to have it. So there really was no getting Hogan without that ego, because he had to be a huge personality in order to draw so many people into the product that we know and love. There's no way around. He had to
have that ego to be sitting there with Lou Ferrigno and say, no, I'm the Hulk.
Yeah.
And that's how he got his name. And I mean, that just takes some serious stones.
Sure. And to go on all the talk shows he went on, to star in movies and television, like, you can't do all that stuff if you don't believe that you can, and that takes Olympic-size ego.
Oh, calling up Bischoff and saying, I'm the third man of NWO.
Yeah. Canceling an angle that was already, well, not canceling it, but altering it severely.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing enough to go into Bischoff's office and be like, I want creative control, and you're going to give it to me. And then got it.
He was popular. He wasn't anything I wanted to see.
We should talk about this, too. This was interesting. I found this out some years ago, that when Hulk signed his deal, there was a deal in place that he had to make more money than everybody else.
Right.
So if anybody else got a raise, no matter who it was, he would get one too. He had to make the most money. He's crazy like a fox.
Brilliant contract negotiations in that regard.
Businessman. Really is. And you don't do that if you don't have an ego that's just gigantic.
And just to put a little niggle into that ego, I have to say that Tony Khan has shown that ego in his and your band just along with your husband. I was so proud of Tony Khan for telling Linda she was not welcome in AEW, and just as unwelcome as her husband was.
Gotta love it.
It was beautiful.
Got to love it. Yes.
I would love to have seen that.
It's on Twitter. You can still find it. Go to his Twitter account.
We'll find it.
It's amazing. Loved it.
Okay, so moving away from the fogey blondes, who else do you think it's time to pack up and...
You were about to say one and I cut you off, so it's your turn.
Me?
Yeah, you. Definitely you. I've talked to you.
Going back to Impact Wrestling, because they have so many young talents right now that are fantastic, but they also have Hernandez, and they have RVD, and they have Tommy Dreamer, and they have Rhino. And I'm not going to say all of them need to step back, but two of them do. I'm sorry, but RVD looks like an old man trying to capture his glory the way Hogan did when he came back and faced The Rock in WWE. And Hernandez goes back to that. He's just moving so slow, and he is getting dangerous in the ring. In the 10 years since he debuted on Impact Wrestling, he has really gone from being a really strong top guy to sad. Just does not have it any longer. And as I keep saying, I don't want to say that someone needs to step out of their job, but if they're making things dangerous for themselves and everyone else, that's when it's time.
It's got to be difficult to know when that moment is. I mean, I remember Edge saying something about it during the Undertaker's special. Like, you just kind of hope, just out of human decency, if nothing else, that when that moment comes, that the performer knows. And I wonder if some of them even know, because they really love it. Like, how are you, if we may be merciful for a moment, like, how do you step away from something that you love that much? How do you even begin to do that and then go back to what was? And that's essentially what we'd be asking them to do. It must be very difficult. I can't imagine.
But the thing is, I'm not saying there are so many other jobs within the industry.
Yeah, agreed.
Not for like Flair, but I'm talking about RVD and,
sure. As a producer or
so
trainer.
Many places. There's training. There's announce if you have that in you. Like Samoa Joe has taken the bull by the horns on announce and is killing it. I was worried that he was slowing down and being injured too much and we'd never get to see much of him again. And he's taken it and he's completely flipped the WWE on its ear and is giving us some of the best mic work on announce.
Well, Taz,
I think he's the best mic they've got.
I agree completely with you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, oh my God. I would love to see him there for many, many more years. I'd rather see him announcing in the ring, and I didn't dislike him in the ring. I love him as an announcer.
You didn't get him when he was at his best in the ring. By the time he got to WWE, he was kind of already starting to get injured too much. But I still say that I won't go too deep into this, I know, because it's not the show for it. But that stuff that he did with Heyman was just platinum.
Yes.
But you didn't, unfortunately, Natalie, you didn't get the best of him when he was, doing the X Division stuff and TNA and the original feud between AJ Styles and he, which was just golden when he really kind of found his character and his voice. He was better than you saw. You just didn't get to see it. But now we're getting, to your point, Natalie, we're getting all that personality and all that charisma as a commentator. And who knew he could flip it so effortlessly?
Yes. And I remember a promo that Samoa Joe did in TNA where he literally had someone hanging upside down by their ankles kind of behind him. And he cut this grisly, horrible, mean, nasty promo. Mm-hmm. And, normally you'd be fixated on that poor schlop hanging upside down. It was like he didn't even exist because Joe was just so good.
Yeah.
And taking that so good at what they do and taking what they can work with in the industry, I think we've been seeing Jake the Snake Roberts do that in AEW with his mic work. He has been brilliant. And I would have said that the man should never step, other than for a Hall of Famer segment or something else, that he should never step back into pro wrestling. And he is changed my mind, and my mind doesn't change very easily. Him and Arn have been killing it in AEW. And since we're talking about old guys there are a lot of them who are still killing it. And I want to throw out Chris Daniels and Dustin Rhodes for those who are over 50 and still running like they're in their 30s.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You're being so positive now.
I'm sorry. Who else for the old guys do we want to see gone?
Ooh.
Not Dustin, that's for sure. I like Dustin.
Oh, I know. I agree.
Yeah.
And he's still contributing in a very physical way and still being able to tell stories in the ring well. And yeah, definitely not him. Definitely not him. It's interesting because they're just, I mean, I'm like sitting here trying to think of others, and all I can come up with are indie guys you're not going to know.
I have one more.
Please.
For older guys,
Sure.
person, and he's not been in the ring much, and I know he's there and helping his son get over, but I have to say Billy Gunn should not be stepping in the ring. He's just boring and doesn't seem to have it the way he had it.
It is a little his it is a little diminished. I agree with you there. I agree completely with you.
I didn't realize he was still getting into the ring.
Oh,
he's done a few matches in AEW.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't know. I mean, for just my own opinion, I could be wrong, but like when he gets in the ring, he's not like, it's not like watching RVD, who was beginning to slow down many years before Impact. Like that's been a problem for years. Him just kind of slowing down, and I mean, he put his body through ECW, like.
But so did Tommy Dreamer, and he's still going like a fiend.
But he's also like, if we may be real here, like he's more creative than RVD ever was. And
Rhino
he's more
too.
Passionate. Much more passionate. It's not like watching Sabu. There's another one who needs to just stop.
Please, Sabu needs to go away. I'm afraid he's going to die in the ring one of these days, personally.
He's another one that was just so reckless for so many years. I mean, if you put your body through ECW, really, unless you're Tommy Dreamer, it's probably a good idea to stop. And that's kind of where.
But Rhino's still going, and he's lost weight, and he looks great.
Is he as good in the ring, though, is the question?
He's not as good in the ring, but he is not bad enough that I get worried. Okay,
good to know. But they're just so. It's Scorpio too. If you haven't seen Too Cold Scorpio on the Indies, you would think he should have stopped. Yeah, tell him that.
I think he should have stopped years ago for other reasons, but
he's just so good though. Like still, he's just full of vinegar. He works in the ring really well. He can still flip around like he always did. He's still just got silos full of it even now. It's just bizarre to me how he can continue to work.
Well, Dustin is the same way. That man just goes and goes, and Chris Daniels just goes and goes and goes, and they're both over 50. Yeah,
agreed. It's bizarre how they can keep going. But to your point, like as far as it's like with the exception of Tommy Dreamer, it's like Impact is gone for the older guys and they've gone for the wrong ones. Like if you don't have it, it's cool, but you need to know when that moment is, when you need to stop, and you need to listen to people if they're telling you.
Oh, I've got one, and it rips my heart out because everybody who knows me knows that he's my local buddy, but I have to say Tony Atlas is way too slow in the ring. Yeah. He really, all the local guys work really well with him and take care of him in the ring. And when I say local, I mean all of New England, even down to Jersey.
Sure.
But Tony, I worry about his health in the ring because he is what, in his 70s?
I believe he's close.
Still wrestling?
Oh yeah. Tony Atlas is still wrestling. And before COVID, he was on other than the fact that his wife is in a nursing home. She suffered a couple of strokes and she's in really rough shape. other than that, he was still on the road a lot just before COVID.
He's 66, by the way. I just looked it up.
66. I thought he was over 70, but
It's just what he's been doing to his body. He looks older than he is.
and he's in a fantastic shape, but that doesn't mean his body is still ring ready.
It's not. I've seen him do
like
the
he's
indie
in
thing. And
fantastic shape. We don't know what his kicker's like and all the rest.
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Right. But he has slowed down. I agree with you. And it kind of is, it's getting a little sad at this point. But I mean, at the end of the day, like in his situation, he comes to an indie event and he draws. And
Big
people
time.
are excited to see him, and he's happy to be there. And like you said, like the people he's working with, the guys he's working with, take care of him.
Absolutely, everyone loves working with him.
And he's such a sweet guy. You know what I mean? And they take care of him really well. And so, I mean, I guess in that instance, because I know you're having trouble saying this, and I would have trouble saying it too. I mean, I guess in that instance, what is it hurting really? Because he's not being made to work very long. It's not like he's doing Hurricane Ranas or anything like that. He never did that.
No.
So what does it hurt? You know what I mean?
I just don't want it to hurt him because he's not able, it'll be interesting to see what happens when COVID is over and whether he will actually get back in the ring afterward.
Yeah. I see what you mean. I certainly see what you mean there.
So we all have a few names of people that we just don't like for one reason or another. And I don't mean gut feelings. Yes, I'm looking at you, Botch. But there's that one person who, for some reason, just doesn't tickle our fancy anymore or at all. And so I'm going to give this to Natalie because there is someone she just does not like. Yeah, hold.
We probably. Okay, yep. In 3, 2, 1.
I think we've hit on all the major names of those who are really over the hill. And honestly, we're looking at this for their physical health more than most everything else. So I got to go through all the traditional things. Please like our video. Please subscribe below. Hit the little bell so you get alerts when our videos come up. All that fun stuff that you got to do on social media. Yay! And on that note, Noble Natalie Baron Botch, I am Queen KB. This is Wrestle Royalty. This is the Royal Council, and we will see you next week. Bye.